Shanghai. In Chinese, the name means above the sea. Shanghai was a small fishing town until the middle of the 19th century when European invaders, seeking wealth, power, and the mysteries of Asia, came from across the seas. The foreigners made of it the city of their fantasies. For them, Shanghai was a city of glamorous spies, lavish brothels, and opium dens. Above all, it was the gateway to illicit profit and enormous wealth. Today, Shanghai is once again a Chinese city. This boulevard is in the former British concession. In those days, a sign used to read, "No Chinese or dogs allowed." Photography has only recently become popular. Everywhere you look, someone is posing for a shot. All the commotion is over a Westerner who is having his picture taken. In a neighborhood once reserved exclusively for foreigners, today it's the foreigner who draws a crowd, especially if his hair is a little long. These large, heroic murals are painted directly on the walls. Wooden chests take the place of closets here. In the spring, the traditional season for weddings, hundreds of chests like these are carried through the streets.
What's up, everybody? Mr. Redguard, how the heck are you? I am wonderful. I have a pulled chicken sandwich and fries with my name on it after I finish the stream. That doesn't mean I'm going to rush because thoroughness is the essence of a good communist and a good streamer. So, this is a documentary called How Yukong Moved the Mountains. This particular section, the eighth section, it has many sections, I believe 12. Anyways, it's called Impressions of a City. This was filmed in China during the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution. What was the Cultural Revolution? Was that when all of the kids in China decided they wanted to go out and massacre their teachers and reject authority? No. The Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution was based around the idea that a new bourgeoisie, a new ruling class, can arise from within the Communist Party, meaning that after we seize state power, we cannot just sit on our asses and be like, yay, we won. We're communists now. Stalin actually made that mistake when the 1936 Constitution of the USSR was written. They wrote on my food. No, they did not write on my food. That would not be very nice. Anyways, Stalin, if I recall correctly, declared class struggle in the Soviet Union over. And as we know, the Soviet Union eventually ended up being run by a group of party insiders called the nomenclatura, who had access to luxury goods, imports, dachas, basically country houses, nice apartments. Basically, they had a standard of living that privileged them above the average, ordinary, everyday worker. Now, am I saying that as communists, we should force the people to live in austerity? No. Under communism, under socialism rather, you will have access to televisions, public transportation, vehicles if you need them, good food. But our idea is that everybody has access to that, not just party insiders. And we certainly will not tolerate the existence of people who made billions of dollars from exploitation. Because, like, here's the thing. You can only become a billionaire by exploiting people. Like, nobody works and earns billions of dollars. As a matter of fact, I saw a Twitter post somewhere which said that if you started working at an ordinary worker's wage in the United States, when the pyramids were being built, and you somehow magically lived to the year of Gonzalo 2023, you would still not be a billionaire. The only way that you can become a billionaire is by exploiting other people. China has a substantial amount of billionaires. Last I checked, they have the second largest amount of billionaires in the world, only behind my home country, the United States. The United States is the home of exploitation, so naturally, we're going to be number one because we are the number one imperialist superpower on the face of the earth today. That's why it's essential that we deconstruct this horrible system and struggle for a socialist future. Anyways, we see everybody living together. We don't see rich people walking around. We don't see homeless people on the streets. We see a fairly good standard of living. This sort of puts the lie to the revisionist assertion that the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution was chaotic. The Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution put the working class, the proletariat, and the peasantry, the people who built China, the people who made China what it is, the masses of people in the driver's seat. And it got rid of people like Deng Xiaoping, Liu Shaoqi, and these others who wanted to drag China back on the capitalist road under the auspices, under the excuse that we must modernize. It is entirely possible to modernize a country without giving it over to billionaires. Never mind allowing billionaires into the ranks of the Communist Party. People always say that China punishes its billionaires when they get out of line. Okay, America does that too. Why do we think Trump is in trouble now? Why do we think that Bernie Madoff went to prison? Billionaires only get in trouble when they rip off other rich people or when they piss off somebody higher up on the food chain. In a socialist country, billionaires would not be allowed to exist because people who exploit are restricted. They're not allowed to be around at all. Everybody must work for their keep. Everybody must contribute to the well-being of the country. And the Communist Party is the home of the proletariat and allied classes, working class people, and peasants. and others. Of course, America doesn't have any peasants, so that's neither here nor there. But the point is that exploiters are never, ever, ever allowed into the ranks of the Communist Party while they're still being exploiters. So, the title of the stream is The Wise and Magnificent Chairman Mao Would Have Redacted Everybody Here. Well, actually, the kind Chairman Mao would have redacted everybody here. Redact is an internet term for make not alive anymore. But I don't want Twitch to fuck with me, so I said redacted. Why would Mao have done this? Because Mao consistently stated that China and other socialist countries were at risk for reverting into capitalist fascist countries. That is what we have seen in the People's Republic of China today. Now, by saying this, am I saying that it would be right for the United States to prosecute war goals against and eventually go to war with the People's Republic of China? Absolutely not, because such a war would inevitably lead to the destruction of the human race as we know it. Because both of these countries are nuclear-armed countries. So, no, I do not support America against China. I do not support China against America. People always take Maoist words out of context, and anarchist comrades as well, saying that we support the United States. That is not the case. There is no evidence that that is the case. Lenin taught that we do not wish for the victory of the lesser imperialism. We wish for the defeat of imperialism everywhere. That's basic Marxist-Leninist Maoist theory, 101. But many revisionists or campists, people who believe that the world can be divided into camps and we must support the camp that is opposed to the United States, people like that don't understand the ABC of Marxist theory, and thus they turn politics, they turned geopolitical strategy into a football game where we must root for the underdog. The only underdog that I root for is the global working class, which will inevitably be victorious. So let's take a look at the lifestyles of China's rich. You have GQ. You see how I'm dressed? You can guess I'm a fan of GQ now. So the Bling Dynasty, a fairly Orientalist term. But let's see what's going on. China's wealthiest 1%. Socialist countries do not have a 1%. This past summer, a fleet of private planes was dispatched throughout the vast north of China. At airports in the coal fields of Jilin, in the industrial centers of Hebei, and other industrial centers of Liaoning, and the other coal fields of Gansu, Gulfstreams and Airbus business jets touched down to collect the ultra-rich of China and their entourages before tipping wing flaps and taking off again for the industrial city of Dairen, way out there on the eastern edge of the world. These people were not merely wealthy. We are not talking about individuals who just go ahead and order the premium cable channels without even trying to play DirecTV against Comcast. We're talking dislocating, alien, dehumanizing amounts of money, the kind of stratospheric wealth that seems inevitably to propel people into a kind of post-geographic realm. At this level of wealth, you're not really a citizen of Baku or Hamburg or Pacific Palisades or whatever the location of your birth. The only people you have anything meaningful in common with are other people that are also wealthy. People you meet at the private airports and luxury boutiques and resorts in the better yacht clubs of the world. Citizens of a kind of nationalist concierge realm we can call Yachtland. By this logic, China is sending more people to Yachtland than any other nation in the world. So, again, they have all these rich people, but the GQ article goes on to explain that they don't have any infrastructure because China once was a socialist country. China built apartments for working class people. China built schools. China built roads where there previously were none. China built hospitals during the Maoist era, the proletarian revolutionary era, when the Communist Party was still in the hands of actual revolutionaries. So now they're rushing to build this shit for their new ruling class, for the billionaires who have arrogated unto themselves the Communist Party. There's also expat Europeans running around. This would have never happened under Mao because Mao would not have allowed it. They're selling $100 million boats. They're importing gold-flecked champagne and caviar. In 2004, there were 3 billionaires on the Hurun list of Chinese billionaires. The Hurun and Forbes lists are the gold standards when it comes to counting rich Chinese people. Today, this article is from 2015. There are 354 Chinese billionaires on that list. 388 if you include the billionaires in Hong Kong, which until 1997 was a British colony. There are also 60,000 Chinese people worth at least $200 million, which is another line of demarcation between being wealthy and a photon cannon of currency. Now, America is still number one in billionaires with 492. But Rupert Hugoworth, the Luxembourg-born man behind the Hurun list, estimated for GQ that even given their relative economic slowdown, the Chinese would overtake the United States in billionaires in 2 years. He also said that for every billionaire Hurun knows about in China, they suspect there's another one they don't. Some of them we don't know about because their wealth is new or they live somewhere remote, and some of them are secretive because they're government officials or what have you. So you have billionaires in the ruling class, in the Communist Party. Keep in mind, the Communist Party is the party of the working class, the party of the proletariat. We need a Bernie bro versus Dungist debate on the ethics of billionaires. The Bernie bro would win hands down. How much is a yuan compared to a dollar? I don't know. I'm not up on exchange rates. They don't like the sun, one of the many European yacht sales when I met in Dayron said. They wear ridiculous bathing costumes. They are afraid of the water. If you go to a Chinese beach during the day, the beach is empty. You have it all to yourself. They come out only at sunset to take photos of each other. These are the stereotypes. This anti-dark skinness is actually very deeply rooted in East and Southeast Asia. During the feudal era, when there was still an emperor or an empress of China, or Vietnam, or what have you, Japan, all these other places in East Asia, being dark-skinned meant that you were a peasant, okay? Being light-skinned meant that you could sit in your house all day. You had servants to attend to you, and when you went out, you were in a palanquin. You ever seen those old movies where they have this like big-ass box, and you've got sticks on the sides of the box, and you've got these 4 big-ass dudes to pick you up and carry you around? That's a palanquin. That's how rich people traveled. They also had sedan chairs and rickshaws. So if you were light-skinned, you didn't have to work. So the colorism in East Asia is heavily rooted in class prejudice. During the proletarian revolutionary period, work, being dark-skinned, being a peasant, was a point of pride. But now that the bourgeoisie has come back into its own in a formerly proletarian-run country, these old stereotypes are coming back. So, yeah, they're afraid of the sun because the sun means you're poor. But let's review one fact here. 10 years ago, there were 3 billionaires in China. Now there are at least, this is a very poorly formatted article. There are at least 350 billionaires and 60,200 millionaires in a country where 20 years ago there was no luxury goods to buy because the country was for the working class. They want French cuisine. They want British butlers. They want to play golf. The first wave of rich sports was golf, and it's old now. Everybody and their mother plays golf now. To say, oh, I'm learning golf, it's not exciting. Equestrian, where they basically torture the fuck out of animals, is really where it is. It's the next thing, and you're just starting to see the wave now. Same with Cuba today, and the wave of pre-revolutionary anti-black racism since the privatization of the 90s. Yeah. You can tell a country is going to shit when you have the return of anti-blackness and racism. So yeah, I can't even read that much of this because it's so sick. Like I said, communism and socialism are not about austerity. Okay, you're not going to live in a shack or a tumble-down mud hut in the countryside. You're going to have a nice apartment. You're going to have nice things. You're going to be able to have a watch collection if you want, but you're not going to have 30 fucking Cartiers because you own a gold mine in Africa, because that's not going to be allowed. So you got class divisions. You've got waiters that are serving people. You've got people walking around wearing Chanel suits every day of the week. Like, having luck, there's nothing wrong with having luxury goods, okay? This isn't a luxury good. This is a fucking $85 Fred Perry polo. I love Fred Perry. But, like, do I have fucking... am I walking around calling myself a communist wearing fucking $35,000 suits? No. If I had the money, would I buy a $35,000 suit? Yeah, because I like suits. But, like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, that cannot be your full fucking lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with Ralph Lauren. Like, I like dressing nice. I was raised to dress nice. And, like, that's part of black culture everywhere around the world. But there's a difference when you are a working class person or when you're a streaming asshole like me. That's both. And being a fucking literal billionaire who owns mines all over the world. You dance now. You dance now. We are making the party now. This is doing business in China. Trogot said Germanically. I love GQ writers. So, inside the luxury lifestyle of the Chinese billionaire class.
From being the only country to produce billionaires,
keep a trash can close by in case you throw up. Compare what you saw in the video that I showed in introduction to this.
Faster than other nations, to dominating the tech world with the biggest e-commerce platforms. Currently, China has a total of 1,058 billionaires.
So, dingists show shit like this, and they're like, oh, look how developed. Like, this could be New York. Like, to talk about where they lifted everybody out of poverty. Okay, you can lift people out of poverty, which is not the only goal of socialism, by the way. This is Hong Kong, which, again, was the former British colony. I could tell because I used to play SimCity, and this building was a landmark that you could plop. That, I don't know what it's called, but SimCity did a lot of good for me, and geography. So, what was I saying? When you have this level of development is fine, okay? Like, nobody's saying that your country should be poor forever. Nobody's saying that you should be a total autarky, a country that doesn't trade with anybody or anything like that, because that's impossible. We live in a globally connected society. But where is the development leading? Okay? We Maoists believe that you can either be on the capitalist road or you can be on the socialist road. The socialist road leads towards communism, which, as we know, if you've read your manifesto, is a classless, stateless, moneyless society. But if you have billionaires, like, look, J.P. Morgan down here. What the fuck is J.P. Morgan doing in a socialist country? Maybe China is in a socialist country. Avoided PSL after hearing these exact takes about contemporary China. You should avoid PSL because they're full of sex pests. But, yeah, that's what drives a lot of good people off. Like, people aren't dumb, okay? Like, people are not stupid. People are going to realize, like, average, ordinary, working class people are going to realize that you cannot have dozens, hundreds, even 1,000 billionaires in a country and call yourself socialist. You've got 1,000 exploiters in your country who made fortunes, who lived lives of unprecedented luxury at everybody else's expense. So you cannot have that. That is a contradiction. And people are going to ask you, like, how the fuck are we going to build a country for the working class? Eric Prince, the founder of Blackwater, is working in Xinjiang. Is Eric Prince doing good things in Xinjiang? Probably not. You've got American mercenaries running around in your country, working for the Chinese government. Whoop-de-fucking-do. I wonder what he's doing. So you've got American mercenaries running around. You've got American investment banks in your country. You've got Bank of America in your country. But it's socialist. Like, what level of cognitive dissonance, what level of delusion is required to believe that shit? See, working class people aren't dumb. So when you promote this shit, like, this is what you want to build. This is what you want to build on stolen land in the United States, a country that claims it's socialist, yet allows exploiters to not only exist, but have high positions in the country. And I guarantee you, most of these American socialist billionaires, all of them, are going to be white. So basically, you've got white people that are still living large at everybody else's expense on stolen land under socialism. That's fraud. That's bullshit. That's a lie. You cannot have that. So that's my challenge to all these PSL types. Like, get real. Quit lying to people. Because people aren't dumb. You're only making yourself look like an ass by promoting this shit. Like, and my question to these dungites is like, what is enough? Like, at what level are you going to say, you know what? China isn't socialist anymore. Like, how much is it going to fucking take? And then ironically, they do not apply their own analysis to America. So what's okay for China to be doing is wrong for the United States. No, it's wrong everywhere.
According to the Huron Global Rich List. That's a ridiculously large number of people to come out of a communist state. Chinese billionaires live a life much more extravagant than what you'd have assumed after watching Crazy Rich Asians. Here's a rundown of the richest Chinese
That movie was trash.
billionaires and their outworldly possessions. Zhang Shanshan. As of 2021, standing at a net worth of $68.9 billion, Zhang Shanshan is the richest billionaire in China. Born and raised in Hangzhou, Shanshan comes from a humble background, starting his professional journey as a sales agent selling healthcare supplements. He founded a bottled water company, Nongfu Spring, in 1996, and the rest is history. Taking advantage of new technology, Shanshan understood his consumer base and expanded his humble company into a leviathan of epic proportions. At the end of 2020, Forbes listed Zhang as Asia's wealthiest person. Despite being the wealthiest person.
So keep in mind, you've got South Korea, you've got Japan, you've got Vietnam, which is another revisionist country that I might do a video on. But you've got all these places, and the richest man comes from China. Comes from China, the supposed socialist state. They don't have socialized healthcare in China either. Yeah, Deng Xiaoping took that away too. There was actually, it was called the Iron Rice Bowl. Like you literally had to fuck up bad to get fired from your job. You had free childcare. You had an apartment with nominal rent. The rent was basically only the upkeep. You had food. You had basically all of your material needs were taken care of. Now you don't have healthcare. You don't have healthcare. But people think that China has developed. No, it has regressed. They charge children for school lunches. Like, how exactly is this different from the United States? Like, okay, we talk about law. The laws are different. Okay. It's not law. It's which class is in control. Who is in control of the commanding heights of the state? A socialist country doesn't harass people for carrying out Marxist study groups. A socialist country doesn't strike break. Remember when all those PSL people were mad at Biden for breaking the railroad strike? Okay, they do that shit in China. And in China, people actually go to jail. In Vietnam, they actually ordered people to go back to work at a Taiwanese company. A Taiwanese company. I thought Taiwan was like big bad number one. But here they are investing in Vietnam.
Person in China, Zhang is known for being a lone wolf, as he primarily lives a pretty low-key life with his wife and 3 kids. He barely
the Bill Gates of China
makes public appearances, doesn't talk to the media, nor does he publicly express his political views. If there's anything crazier than being the richest man in China, it is being the richest man in China who doesn't flaunt his wealth. Ma Huateng. In 2021, Huateng's net worth stands at $65.8 billion, with his primary source of wealth coming from internet media. He is the founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of Asia's most valuable company, Tencent, one of the biggest investment, gaming, and entertainment conglomerates in the world.
So the Chinese Communist Party during the Revolutionary Era had stamped out gambling because, like, gambling was an addiction, just like opium. Now you've got drug use and gambling returning to China. You've got this guy who's made $65 billion in large part off gambling. Macau, which used to be a Portuguese colony, is basically the Las Vegas of China. And they allow that shit. So they've regressed.
The web media giant Tencent owns stakes in Tesla, Snap, and Spotify.
All American-based companies.
Apart from being named one of the most powerful people in the world in 2018 by the CEO World magazine, Ma has a...
Let's unpack this a bit. But certain white leftists who fetishize China in a way that's like, I have Chinese friends, 1.1 billion of them. No, you don't. Like, the majority of the Chinese people would probably say, yeah, I support the government. The majority of the American people would say, yeah, our government has problems, but I support it. Like, that's not an accurate barometer of what's going on or whether or not a country is socialist. Shit, you got Republicans who think that America is socialist. That doesn't mean anything. Words mean things, and we have an entire body of Marxist-Leninist Maoist theory that tells us exactly what socialism is. So, fetishizing Chinese people or acting as if the government is actually representative of the people. Like, does the American government represent me? Does the American government represent any working class person, especially if they're black? Absolutely fucking not. Like, there's really no tangible difference. Not at all. Again, this does not mean that I support American-led regime change, free Tibet nonsense. But it does mean that critical support or just criticism is a good thing. Then you could call it a dumb bisual for criticizing China. I don't know. I think the Chinese think they were all bisual.
keen taste of the finer things in life.
Well, you'd be a bisual. I'm a heron.
He owns multi-million-dollar properties in Hong Kong and has collected art pieces worth $150 million, adding to his growing...
Well, you're not going to destroy things through criticism. Like, there's inevitably going to be, like, the funk is going to hit the fan in China eventually, but it's going to be at the hands of the Chinese people, not from Americans complaining on the internet. I'm just here for the memes.
Collection of super expensive things only Chinese billionaires can afford. Colin Huang. Born in 1980 to middle-class factory working parents, to becoming the third richest billionaire by creating the largest agricultural platform in China, Huang is the founder and former CEO of the e-commerce company Pinduoduo, which surpassed Alibaba as China's most popular e-commerce company in 2020, racking up to 788.4 million users. Once the initial public offering of Pinduoduo launched on NASDAQ in July 2018, Huang's 47...
You've got Chinese companies being listed on American imperialist stock exchanges.
7% stake in the company was valued at $14 billion. From what it seems, with big pockets comes bigger responsibilities. Huang was named the leading philanthropist on the Hurun Philanthropy List 2021 after pledging...
So now we have capitalist philanthropists. Like, fundamentally, how is this any different than what we have in America? Bill Gates gives a shitload of money away, too. Is he a socialist? Should he be admitted to the Communist Party?
Billions for social responsibility projects and scientific research.
You know who does that stuff in socialism? The government, because it's led by the working class.
According to Bloomberg, Huang and the founding team has donated 2.37% of Pinduoduo shares, which is like $100 million, to the Starry Night Charitable Trust to support fundamental research in biomedical science, agriculture, and food. Heyo, Bezos, feeling inspired to follow Huang's footsteps? The lifestyle of the rich in China. Keeping the mega, ultra, super rich Chinese billionaires on one side, the affluent and moderately rich Chinese are actually quite proud of their wealth, and they're not afraid to show it. From
socialist values.
Driving around in the most expensive cars, to living in grand mansions that are spread over acres of land, to wearing nothing less than designer labels and diamond-studded Rolexes.
So we've gone from serve the people, follow Lei Feng's good example, to wearing diamond-encrusted Rolexes. Again, if I could afford that shit, I would have one. But, like, come on. And this isn't just me being jealous. But, like, if I had that level of money as an American, I would probably have given most of it away by now. Like, yeah, I'd have a decent house. I'd have a decent car. I mean, kind of happy with what I have now. But this is America. We can always do with more money. But, like, my class interests, my fundamental class interests, like, I'm still going to remember that, hey, I'm BRG. My grandma worked in a fucking cotton field. My great great uncle, was dragged to death behind a Model T Ford for defending his sister. Like, you never forget where you come from, no matter how much money you get. Like, at the end of the day, I'm fundamentally no different than Mike Brown or George Floyd, because when the police see me, the police see them. So that differentiates from like Oprah Winfrey, who just doesn't give a fuck. But who knows? I might be rich one day. But like, at the end of the day, I'm still going to be a communist till I die. Why? Because it's necessary for the continued existence of humanity.
China is the #1 country to purchase the most Rolls-Royces, and the largest single order for Rolls-Royce was placed by the luxury hotel entrepreneur Stephen Hung. Back in 2014, Hung ordered a fleet of 30...
You know, it's funny, like, after everything that the British did to China, like literally going to war with them to force them to purchase opium from India, after all the fuck shit that the Brits have done to China, they are absolutely obsessed with British culture. They want British cars. They want British butlers. They want British luxury clothing. Like, bruh.
Rolls-Royce Phantoms to chauffeur his guests back and forth to their destinations. If you think that's extra, you're taking the Chinese too lightly. In addition to ordering a fleet of bespoke extended wheelbase Phantoms, which alone cost $475,000 per car, the order also included the 2 most expensive Rolls-Royces ever commissioned.
That's just fucking gaudy. Like, I love the old money aesthetic. So, like I hate people like Trump because they're garish. Like, gold-plated shit. Like, no. Like, I'm really into dark academia, and, like, my ideal fashion decade would probably be the 60s. Like, I like tweed. I like flannels. I like skinny ties. Like, stuff like that. I like fedora hats and flat caps. Probably a mixture between the 60s and the 30s. But, like, this shit, like, this is just fucking garish. It's disgusting.
Complete with gold-plated accents on the inside and out.
The 1910s had some dope fits as well.
Bougie pets for bougie Chinese. The extravagant and luxurious lifestyle isn't just about million-dollar mansions and flying off to the Caribbean in your private plane for a family vacation. The Chinese don't hold back when it comes to their pets either. In 2014, a Tibetan Mastiff, an ancient breed of dog that resembles a lion, was sold for nearly $2 million at a Chinese luxury.
Imagine paying $2 million for a fucking dog. Like, does the dog speak? Can it get up and walk on its hind legs for an hour? Does it sit down and shit like a human does on the toilet? Does it cook you dinner? Like, why would you pay $2 million for a dog?
Pet fair. The anonymous buyer dropped a whopping 12 million won on the dog, which converts to 1.6 million. The dude could have just gotten himself a lab and called it a day, but then how else was he going to symbolize his status and wealth? An insatiable appetite for haute couture. According to the latest Huron Wealth Report, there are 960,000 millionaires in China, and gone are the days when being conservative with your wealth was the norm. The affluent Chinese upper class are not holding back when it comes to owning luxury goods and designer labels.
I mean, yeah, it's a beautiful dog, but I wouldn't pay $2 million for a dog, even if I had $2 million to blow like that.
And brands like Louis Vuitton, Balmain, Burberry, Hermes, Gucci, and Prada have experienced a surge in their consumer base coming from the East. And boy, are they big spenders. The Chinese market makes up about 35% of global luxury spending, and this percentage doesn't seem to be coming down anytime soon. Here's a fun fact. The most expensive handbag is owned by a Chinese actress and singer Li Bingbing. The bag features 1,600 white diamonds that amount to nearly 40 carats and costs $400,000. Kim and Ye's wedding was nothing compared to this Chinese wedding. If you thought it was outrageous of Kim and Ye to spend $12 million on their wedding, the Chinese actress, singer, and model Angela Young, better known as Angelababy, got hitched in 2015 and had the most over-the-top wedding ceremony that cost a total of $31 million.
You spent an entire fucking fortune on your wedding. $31 million. Like I said, the kind Chairman Mao would have shot everybody involved.
The bride's wedding ring alone cost $1.5 million, and the festivities kicked off with a pre-wedding photo shoot of the couple in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Of course, we expect nothing less than the gorgeous bride donning exquisite Elisab couture gowns. Kim K, you better keep up, because Angela baby's coming for your spotlight. The richest woman in China has her eye on real estate heaven. What do you do when you're the richest woman in China and you have billions to spare?
Girl boss.
You get a hold of the crown jewels of Manhattan real estate, of course. Zhang Xin, the Chinese property tycoon,
So they're exporting capital to America now.
has her eyes set on acquiring a 40% stake of the GM building, which is home to the flagship Apple store in New York. According to the Wall Street Journal, the GM building is valued at $3.4 billion, which is by far the most expensive property in the United States. Turns out that Xin has had enough of the rising levels of pollution and the political instability in China, and so she's thinking of moving to the US with her family for a better future. It's cute.
How much better can your future get? You are a billionaire. As long as you don't piss off the government, like you could literally buy your way into the party over there. You could literally buy your way into the party over there. Like the Chinese Communist Party is basically the American Chamber of Commerce. Like it means nothing nowadays. Like how much better can you get?
That she thinks the US is any better than China in terms of its government and environmental health. Luxury doesn't just mean splurging on superficial possessions and spending thousands of dollars on
Just check out Seattle. A lot of Chinese bourgeoisie. Vancouver is like that as well.
one shopping trip. It's more about the status and recognition that comes with owning luxury products. When it comes to introducing luxury to the Chinese, we got to keep in mind that just about 30 years ago, China was completely isolated from the rest of the world.
No, it wasn't.
Primary mode of transportation was a bicycle, and luxury was attached to being able to make a phone call. That's all we have.
That's absolute nonsense. China's rich girls.
Dior, like all those like famous, it's expensive for normal people, but we are buying their art. You know, you buying the painting like 1 million, 2 million. Why lots of people do that?
I'm gonna try something on too. It has Oscar de la Renta's name on it. Everywhere to me is like Vegas, money-wise. You know, I feel like, yeah, what happens here stays here. Okay, it's on me. I need something for later.
My parents is really clear, you know, with the money thing, because they say until you graduate university, whatever you want to spend, we want to pay you like whatever you want to do.
So you've got fucking valley girls in China now.
While this young generation is surrounded by affluence, their parents' lives were once much more humble.
You mean like just because of the culture? I don't know. I'd probably do Cuba, to be honest. Although I'm a big Vietnam War buff. My granddad was actually over there. I had quite a few discussions with him before he passed. But yeah, I'd probably like to go over there. Of course, I'm afraid of snakes. I'm also afraid of giant insects, so I'd probably die in Vietnam. As a matter of fact, I'd probably die in any tropical country. But I don't know, just like the historical aspect of it. I mean, the Vietnamese were the best soldiers of the 20th century. So, go pay some homage. What are my thoughts on Hachaism? From what I've read, Hacha was extremely racist. He called jazz jungle music. He also was extremely eccentric. His theory was basically, literally, like Stalin did nothing wrong. And he was also very opportunistic in his relationships with the People's Republic of China. Like, he kissed Mao's ass until Mao died. Then he was like, Mao was a revisionist all along. Ha, ha, ha. And then he died, and his country devolved almost into a civil war because of somebody put all of the state's money in a Ponzi scheme or something like that. So, the bunkers were because he thought that Albania was going to be attacked by Yugoslavia. So, weird dude. Is there anything that we can learn from his politics? I don't think so. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Hachaism. People that still abide by that shit in the year 2023 are fucking weird. So, yeah.
Only a few decades ago, most in China were peasants, sworn to follow the communist doctrine of Chairman Mao. The bourgeois were attacked.
Oh yeah, Tito had some drip. I love Tito's drip. He also helped found the non-aligned movement, which was pretty based.
The wealthy re-educated or worse. And
these were the good old days. Look what they took from us, yo.
The only fashion was the Mao suit.
In my grandparents' age, they can never.
There are valley girls in Mexico too. They call them fresas. Strawberries? Y'all call valley girls strawberries?
Never imagine that one pair of shoes can be over like even $1,000. They can be even $500.
By the time Pam was born in the 1990s, China had already embraced capitalism. Her mother was one of the first in her hometown to launch a business.
I love how, like, Al Jazeera, which is by no means a revolutionary communist news source, like, gets it. They say that China embraced capitalism. Like, everybody knows this except the PSL, Frizzo, Dungite types. Like, everybody knows this. The bourgeoisie know this. The fucking news outlets know this. And they're like, why are you sharing Western media? Like, it's plain to everybody that pays attention and has common fucking sense. Like, people are not stupid. Like, China and the U.S. are not enemies because they share, because they have opposing political systems. They are inter-imperialist rivals. They are rivals over money and geopolitical power. It has nothing to do with China being socialist because it's not, and the U.S. being imperialist. Both are social imperialist countries. Like I said, the wise, venerable, honorable Chairman Mao would have redacted everybody involved in continuing to promote this myth.
As a young child, she watched their lives quickly change.
I remember I started to have a nanny who can take care of me.
Your parents are starting to exploit people on your behalf.
And then we are moving to like bigger places, and then
you're making money. You're one of the first families to have your own cars. Yeah, whoop-de-fucking-do. Fuck the ozone layer, right?
Of the first families who actually has their own cars.
You should get this one.
Today, the new normal for these girls is not worrying about being frugal, but committing a fashion faux pas.
I wear only one time, that day I bought it. Because my friends say I look like birds. So
I might try this one. For the dresses that we have, normally we only wear one time or two times.
Wasteful. You're picking up all of the worst aspects of the American and European bourgeoisie. You're getting an outfit and you're only wearing it one or two times.
We're not going to wear more than that because people get bored of looking at it.
What do you do with the dress after you've worn it once or twice?
It sits in my closet.
so tired, honey.
Because you're done a lot of shopping.
Yeah, shopping.
Yes.
Both Chelsea and Diana came to Canada in their teens, part of a massive wave of rich Chinese children sent abroad by their parents to gain
enjoying the fruits of imperialism by moving to another imperialist country.
International experience. And to also find...
During the Cultural Revolution, Chinese students went overseas too, where they went to go live in the countryside, but they went to Africa and they went to other parts of Asia to help people develop their countries and promote international solidarity. They didn't go shopping.
Safe havens for their family wealth.
Oh, I'll zip you up. It's actually really
also
good.
Safe havens for their family's wealth. They're looking for tax dodges and places to invest, a.k.a. export capital, a.k.a. engage in imperialism.
I like it.
Yeah. You can hide a whole village in here.
Why are so many Chinese with wealth leaving?
I think Canada has something they cannot get in China, even with money. You cannot buy fresh air. Vancouver is more popular.
So China's actually apparently doing pretty good on the environmental front, but like during this period, they were so obsessed with letting some people get rich first, letting some people become billionaires first, meaning politically connected people, that they fucked up the environment, but they're actually doing pretty good at advancing it and rectifying the horrible mistakes that they made in the 90s and 2000s.
For any
They're actually better than the U.S. at that.
other city, because we
Like, at least the Chinese actually, like, pretend to have some level of social consciousness left or care for the environment or care for their people. Like, America just don't give a fuck. America just don't give a fuck. Like, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to keep churning out SUVs. We're going to keep churning out diesel trucks. We're going to keep churning out pickups because that's what Americans want to buy. Like, Americans are the tackiest people in the fucking world. Americans are the most wasteful people in the fucking world. Like, at least the Chinese have some semblance of a social consciousness left over from when they were actually socialist. But that's probably going to be gone by mid-century. They're actually supposed to be socialist again by mid-century. Socialism by 2050. But we'll see. Would I hold my breath? Absolutely not.
have the best food, the ocean, the mountain, the snow, everything.
They're actually even starting to reject their own culture. They're saying that foreign countries are better than their own countries. Their ancestors are turning in their graves.
And you don't even have to speak English necessarily.
No, you don't have to. In all the MS, Horenfield, Chanel, the top sales, they're all speaking Mandarin.
I think we're spending too much money.
You've got so many fucking billionaires and multi-hundred millionaires that you have to speak Mandarin to work at Chanel and these other luxury brands.
You spend too much money. Don't include me with you.
I don't have any place to put my stuff on now.
Put in my
I need
house.
to move in bigger places. I need to buy a house because of clothes.
Yeah.
I need another house because of my clothes. So yeah. If you still think that China is socialist, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. You're an idiot. Like, watching stuff like this, just a few minutes will swiftly disabuse you of that notion, especially compared to how it was during the socialist era. Like, just watch how Yukon moves the mountains, all of it, and then watch this shit. It's obvious that this country has degenerated into something toxic and horrible. And like Joma said, the Chinese people, well, I don't know what good a dead man will do, but like Joma said, Joma Sasan, rest in power, said it's up to the Chinese people to seize their party back or make another revolution, because something has to happen. This is atrocious. This is disgusting. This is fundamentally no different than spoiled rich valley girls complaining about how mommy won't allow them to have an allowance. So with that, I'm going to go eat my sandwich and my fries, and you're going to go to sleep. I'm BRG.